Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 66 of the Top Loaded podcast. And we are joined by, and I would say a repeated guest. He might as well just be a co-host at this point. But first of all, Harry, how are you doing, my friend?
Yes, all good. Thank you, Ronnie, mate. Not too bad. How are you, mate? Well,
Yeah, cannot complain at all, even though it's bloody boring already that the season's done. So roll around the beginning of August because Arsenal are off to Wembley, but the backdoor entrance. So it's fine. That matters. Community shield, community shield. So Saturday card show, bang, get in. I'll have some of that. Thank you very much. But obviously, welcoming back for his 482nd visit, Jason. Obviously, ElToroCards. How you doing, my friend?
like a bad smell. Doesn't leave us alone.
Oh, bloody hell. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'm
Funny
doing
thing
all
is, we didn't
good.
even send this guy the link. He just appeared when we were going to start recording.
He was waiting in the lobby for us.
I was just waiting here. No, I'm doing all good. Yeah, been a quiet week in the hobby, but yeah, still buying as always.
Yeah, and I think obviously, the main thing from the hobby over the last week, and obviously it's quite an interesting talking point, is PSA special, where now it's starting to get lowered down back towards the prices it once was. So for anyone who's thinking about submitting cards, if you are a member of the Collectors Club, it's $15 to submit a sports card, which was made after 1990. So it's quite a nice long time period. But H obviously is going to see the return of quite a lot of bulk submitters again. Hopefully, I think the hobby's now learned not to submit base cards, especially 2018 Donruss, which we see all the time. But it's another step in the right direction, obviously, bringing grading down in price. Obviously, it's going to be a similar 3-month turnaround, but $15 a card, it's a up to $200 in value, I should say.
Yeah, it's good. Like you said, obviously, we finally seen grading come back down to a good price again. I'm hoping we'll see quite a lot of the new select maybe getting submitted during the lower price. I think for me, arguably, maybe select could be one of the best releases we've had this year so far. I think the card designs for me particularly are incredible. I think particularly the tie-dye, the camo, and the zebra. I think are some of the nicest refractors. I don't know what you want to call it, like
parallels.
That's the one. Parallels we've had in pretty most of this year so far. So hopefully we'll see a nice amount of the select being submitted. I know I'm hoping potentially try and submit a couple of cards myself, including a camo and a zebra. But no, yeah, it's good. It makes it a lot more affordable. And like I said, obviously, hopefully we'll see a lot more bigger bulk submissions. And then potentially for the latter London Card Show of the year, we should hopefully see a lot of them being returned for then. So yeah, it's positive, step in the right direction. And as you said, it makes everyone a lot more happier when their sub prices are half the price.
Yeah, obviously, when it comes down to $15, obviously it depends if you send through someone or do you do it yourself. But Jace, do you think this opens up now the possibility of actually regrading some of the PC cards? Because when it was at 30, 40, 50 quid, no one really wants to grade a PC card that they're just going to keep. But do you think now at the 15 area that it now opens the door up for actually grading some of your PC items?
Yeah, 100%. I think I'm going to be sending a lot of cards. I think I'm going to be sending about 15, 20 cards. And I think, say, 75% are going to be PC. So obviously Ramos, obviously Sergio Ribas and all that. But yeah, obviously when it was 30, 40 quid, I didn't even grade till recent. I think, the first few cards I sent was last November. Yeah. So being in the hobby for, say, a year and a half or two, I still didn't grade a card. So yeah, it's obviously going to be good. Hopefully the wait time's not 2 years or 1 year. Obviously I do grade with the grading club, and Aaron said recently PSA have been a lot faster at grading, which has been shown. So yeah, no, it's obviously good to have 15. I think it's 7. So if you're using the grading club, I think it's £17 a card, and then if you do 10 or more, it's 15. So I think it's a very, very good price. And I think anyone who wants to grade for PC or investment wise, I think they should take this opportunity and bosh it out.
No, definitely agree. I think it's like, especially for some of the items in my PC, especially some of my jackets, I think I do agree with you there that I would never grade them at 40 quid because I'm like, if you're making an investment into a card and you're trying to sell it for profit, 40 quid has the margins there. But like we say, even selling, if you're having to lay out an extra 15 quid, say, on a card, say if you're in it for 50, you grade it for 65, goes for 100. Now you're having that $15 cost. It's opening up more profit margins. Hopefully, like I say, it'd be interesting to see in the 3 to 4 months when the cars come back what the slab prices are like. Because obviously at the moment, and no doubt you two boys agree that eBay is a very strange place, that some of the stuff on auction goes for peanuts. Like, it goes for nothing. I got, for people I've not seen my story, I had a Xhaka Overdrive, which is a case hit from the World Cup Select, World Cup Mosaic in a PSA 9. And that was going for raw about $15 about a month ago. And I got in a 9 for £7. And I'm like, it makes, like, the difference is between the States and the UK is UK, they'd list out for a fixed price. States, they just get rid of the card, whatever it goes for, it goes for. So do you think that's still a mindset difference, H, that people will still never to try and make a loss on a slab in the UK? And we see it at card shows, we see it on eBay, Instagram sales, no matter where it is, that in the US, they just bulk submit, say, 100 cards and then just clear them out. So do you think saying in the UK, mentality change has got to be a bit with pricing the slabs, or do you think it's just a hobby thing in general?
I think it's always a bit of pill to swallow when you're making a loss on a card. I think regardless of how long ago you bought it, regardless of how different the market is at that time, I think knowing you bought a card for X amount, you have to sell it for Y amount is always going to be a bit of pill to swallow, and no one's going to want to do it. Especially if you bought a card for 50, comps are at 40, you're going to want to still try and go for 50 or more to try and make up that loss. Secondly, I think in terms of grading accessibility, I think, in the US, you're so freely able to grade with PSA, SGC, etc., Beckett, where it's like local. You can literally make your account, send some cards in, happy days. You haven't got to pay for the middleman service. Obviously, luckily, we have a few of those in the UK that we use and are accessible, but it unfortunately adds more value to submissions. So I think as a result, that then equally adds up the price of some of the slabs we have in the UK and that you see at card shows, where people don't want to budge too much on prices and do want to, look at the higher end of the comp to try and price a card. So yeah, I think it's a mix of both. I think within the UK hobby, obviously people are in it to obviously, to a degree and everything, make money. And as a result, you don't want to be, let's say you buy a card for 20, add the grading fees on it. It comes to a total of 40, but the comps are 25. People are going to want to try and sell it for that price, everything put together. So it's one of the things where people need to take a bigger look at the pricing, the grading costs, the price of the card raw, and what the comps are going for before either grading the card and then trying to list it up for 10, 20 times comps. But like I said, in the US, it's so much more accessible in terms of fees that they can afford to essentially do that and list the cards up for that price. You to get a Xhaka Overdrive for £7, I mean, that's probably 30% of the grading fee. Like, it's let alone the card raw. So yeah, there's a numerous things like that add into it, but I think for me, they're probably the biggest two, is how easily accessible grading is in the US as to why they can afford to auction off those cards for that cheap. And then second of all, obviously, just in terms of people wanting to make a loss in the hobby isn't too common. Inevitably, it's bound to be a case. No one wants to make a loss in the hobby on cards, but the market goes in the way the market does, and you could get lucky and your card triples in value. You may get unfortunate and your card goes down triple in value. So it's just the way the cookie crumbles, and I think people are coming to terms with that. It's just not as high a market as the US is for that.
Yeah. And obviously now we're looking at this special, especially is 1990 and newer. So I know, obviously, Jace, you actually are quite into vintage. And does this change are you changing your mind slowly? Because I know, obviously, you're a big fan of SGC for grading vintage. But now, obviously, they're the same price, whether you go value for vintage or SGC. Has your mindset changed at all? Obviously, it's good, SGC, in the way of getting it back in a quicker turnaround. It should be graded within 2 weeks. So you should get it back within 4 to 6 weeks normally. But does this change your mind now, sending vintage to SGC, that PSA in general are bringing their price down? They might even do a vintage special soon. Well, I would expect they will do a vintage special soon. Is your mind changing now between SGC and just actually sending most of the stuff to PSA?
Well, I remember, I think I was talking to Aaron saying there should have been a vintage deal, like a special deal that I think should have been this month or next month. So hopefully that will come out soon. Most of my cards are SGC. I just think it's a lot quicker. I think it looks nicer as a way. It looks better in a slab, in the slab like that. I think I've got one here, so I just think that looks beautiful. Obviously, it's an authentic. Unfortunately, I just picked that shit one. But I don't know. I think I was talking to you, Ronnie. You were saying a lot of people have started sending more to PSA for vintage because they, the the grades have been, I say, less harsh than obviously SGC. I've always spoke to one guy called Seb Card. So if you haven't checked him out, honestly, his page, a vintage page, is just, you can take about 10 minutes out of your day just to look at every day how good it is. And he always used to say to me, always send PSAs, you know, you get more value for it. Everyone goes for PSA value wise. So I think I'll start, I don't know, I think I've got to maybe send one of each card, send them to both and see what the actual outcome is. But I'm going to start sending more to PSA and see how it goes. But I don't know, I think I might stick with SGC just because of the wait time. That's all I'm going to,
Yeah, and obviously that is the last thing we talk about on grading. Obviously, the wait time is a big thing, especially for the impatient people like myself. Knowing that and to be fair, everyone in this, everyone's impatient.
I think I'm all right. I think once it gets to the close stage, so it's about a few weeks until that's when I start getting impatient. But when I've just sent it and it's the next week, I'm like, oh, okay, I can still wait.
You're crying about it after the day after you sent it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I was saying, like, especially if it's 3 months, obviously you use a middleman service, it could be 4 to 5 months.
When is it going to end?
It's one of them that the waiting time is a massive factor. Obviously, if you're trying to turn it for profit, there's a lot of things can happen within that period of waiting for a card. A player, one of our talking points next is about players and their movement. This somehow it can affect prices, but it's a lot can happen in 4 months in the football world and the hobby world in general. So it's one thing to always consider as well. If it's a PC item, it doesn't matter. If it's out for 5 months, it's out for 5 months, even though 5 months seems like 50 years when you do send off one of your PC cards. But I think, like I say, it's moving in the right direction. And the thing for everyone to remember is PSA always do a special for the Nationals. The Nationals is coming up the end of July. This current special, which is from 1990 onwards, is expiring on the 30th of June. So there'll probably be another special the early point of July to the back end for the Nationals, and then there'll be a Nationals, which will probably be bulk again. So it could even be a cheaper one than $15. Or, like I say, they've recently done a Star Wars special. They've done TCG specials. Jason didn't realize there was a Star Wars special, so now he's upset. I think they're going to go on.
Do you think they'll do a vintage one? Do you think that'll be the next one for the National? Or do you think National and vintage wouldn't really work out? It'll be more of a bulk.
I think vintage would just be on. It could be for a Nationals, but I would expect it to be maybe like in an August or September kind of period where. But like for example, for people who collect women's cards, I'm hoping there's a special at the end of July for the Women's World Cup, which would be fantastic to get more stuff graded. But moving on now to talk about other things, and obviously the transfer window is now open, seasons are now finished, so players are retiring, players are leaving their clubs, signing for their new ones. So it's just quite intriguing. I've wrote some players down here to talk about what we think the value of their cards will be depending on where they end up. And there's a certain player I want to start with because I think it raises a lot of questions because they're going to a league where there is no sets at the moment. So maybe it's just international sets they'll be left in, and that is Karim Benzema. Obviously, everyone knows he's been at Real Madrid for a considerable amount of time, second all-time top goal scorer, 5 Champions Leagues, everything like that. But move into this Saudi league for all the money. Obviously, there is other issues with Saudi Arabia, which we're not getting into. It's not a politics one. But H, what do you think about how would someone's prices affect that they're going into a league where there's no cards? So it's not like a Messi, what we'll come to later on, where he went from Barcelona to PSG, that there's still cards. Obviously not as desirable with PSG, but how do you think it will affect these cards at all? But especially maybe the higher end stuff could be the ones that could see a rise in value.
So, I mean, yeah, hypothetically speaking, obviously the Benzema cards should all rise in value, given the fact that obviously he'll have no further cards from now on. However, I think the lower numbered card, the higher numbered cards, the lower end sort of cards, I don't think will change too much in the value. However, I think the lower numbered cards and the higher end sort of cards, I think the value will increase now. He's obviously won the Ballon d'Or last year. He's now going somewhere there's not going to be any more cards being released unless they release a Saudi League top set, Panini set, whatever. So I think, every player transfer has a direct impact on their pricing. But I think going somewhere where you're not going to have any more cards can, in my opinion, only do one thing, which would be to increase in value. So, like I said, I think it'll only be a certain number of cards in terms of, like I said, the higher end sort of cards will continue to hold, if not increase their value. But for me, I think the lower end cards, I don't think it's going to do too much to the value, in my opinion.
Yeah, and obviously just going over to you, Jess, obviously you know the La Liga market quite well, and you do have a Karim Benzema
Don't
treble
mention
out
it.
at PSA at the moment. So do you think that, especially treble, which is such an iconic set, when people want to pick up a Benzema in a Real Madrid kit just to see his like career, obviously won Ballon d'Or, do you think it's going to be the likes of them sets that they pick up rather than the Chronicles? They might go for a treble or a high prism because as well with La Liga, they don't have a prism set. They only ever have it in Chronicles. So do you think it's the higher end stuff like H said that's going to be the better ones to keep hold of, grade, or even move on kind of thing?
100%. I think obviously treble, I think being one of them, I think they will stay in price or even go up. So I'm happy about that if it does get a high grade. I do think I think autos as well. I think obviously Ben's. I think recently for the past sets that he's been in, recently that's come out. I think he's signed a lot more.
Yeah.
But like the first few years it was in the hobby properly, I think the only one that he had was 2015 or 16 National Treasures. That was the only auto he had. So if it kept like that, I think prices will go up. But I think they'll go up anyway. If you can't get any more cards of him, you want to get, the best ones out there. So you want to see him his first auto in a Real Madrid kit, his obviously rookie sticker, which I think are probably going up in prices already. I saw a few videos of the Paris card show. There's a lot of Benzema in. I think it's a McDonald's sticker. That's going. I think a PSA 6 going for 1.2k, which I think is stupid. But I say always anyway. If you're looking to invest, obviously I think the goats, Messi, Ronaldo. Well, not Ronaldo. I don't like him, but Messi, Hento. The players like this. But I think Benzema, Ballon d'Or winner. I think his price will go up for that anyway. And yeah, it's sad to see him go, but you got to get the bag.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of politics that go inside of it, and obviously they could, like we say, no doubt fanatics will be trying to buy the rights to the Saudi League, especially if other big name players do go out there. And obviously, talking about big name players, and another one who's leaving his club is Lionel Messi. Obviously, is currently at PSG. Up in the air, what happens next? Today's rumours that his dad, obviously his agent Jorge Messi, is in Barcelona talking to Barcelona, but it could be one of these that there is a rumour as well going around saying that he might be loaned to Inter Miami for a 6 to 18 months, then go to Barcelona on loan, and then obviously back to Inter Miami. Or obviously the option of a certain country in the Middle East is on the table as well, which hopefully it doesn't. But it could be quite intriguing for car prices if he goes to the MLS because people are going to start buying MLS Chrome Finest. They do Extravagance as well, which is very similar to the F1 Dynasty, which would be an unbelievable set to see him in. But obviously, there's 3 leagues on the table really at the moment for Messi. You've got return to Barcelona, you've got go to Saudi Arabian League or the MLS. And Jace, I know you have Messi, so I'll come to you first on this one. How much difference do you think the price could be of potentially Messi's cards? Because as well, PSG cards are not as desirable as the old Barcelona one. So can you see if he went back to Barcelona, obviously he's going to be in every set again for Barcelona, that his prices are slowly going to be a bit different to his older Barcelona stuff because they're more readily available again. But then MLS could be quite interesting, like raising the profile of them sets because they are cheap. But then obviously Saudi Arabian League, it could be a no-go.
For me personally, I think Saudi Arabia, no go. I don't want him to go there. I don't want to be him. I don't want another Pinaldo happening. So I think he'll go Barcelona, truly. But the only problem is I know Messi's very different. But like, when Frank Lampard went back to Chelsea, I know he's a manager, but when he went back, he didn't do good. And then people are forgetting how good of a player he was and all the memories that he did, and they're just remembering all the bad bits. You've got Xavi in his first season, didn't really do that good. People were slating him, and then people weren't remembering how he was as a player. So if Messi comes back and does terrible, everyone's gonna, forget all the memories and all the good stuff that he did in obviously the first couple of years or his whole career at Barcelona. I think I've got a Topps Merlin 95 at PSA, which essentially is his last year at Barcelona. So maybe that could hold a bit more value. If he does come back to Barca, that could obviously go back down to planet Earth, unfortunately. And then MLS, I don't know. I'm not really a big fan of it. I'm still not going to buy MLS Chrome. I'm not a big fan of it. But maybe it'll be good for the hobby. More people recognize who Messi is. Because surprisingly, not a lot of people know who Messi is in America. No, honestly, like, I watched this video and people knew Tom Brady was, but didn't know who Lionel Messi
Yeah, but
was.
Can we insert that John Cena meme where he goes, "Are you sure?"
Are you sure
that.
about that? Yeah. No, but I think it'll be good for the hobby. But hopefully he goes back to Barcelona and wins a Champions League for Barcelona, which I don't think will happen, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, and obviously going over to H, it's really weird now to see that potentially some of the best players, obviously they are coming to the end of their career, are going to a country where there's no affiliation with Topps or Panini. Obviously, it's all under Fanatics banner now, but it'd be quite strange next season. Obviously, they'll probably throw in legacy cards, but there's a chance in next year's product that there's no Messi or Ronaldo for the first time since 2004.
Yeah, it's a bit. It's like almost like the end of an era. I think obviously Messi going back to Barca would obviously be the best thing, I think, in terms of card prices. It may take away the edge of how expensive his cards are currently in Barca kits. Yes, if he goes to the MLS, that could end up increasing the likelihood of people buying MLS Chrome. I think going to Saudi is a bit like Ben's. Like, it's just going to be a case of his cards, really, his lower end stuff isn't going to do much different in terms of.
Do you think they'll bring out a Saudi set, like Topps Chrome Saudi?
It depends how much money Saudi League are going to be. They don't need the money, so they could even do. I wouldn't even be surprised if they actually done like their own kind of set. Really could.
Imagine team spots. Team spots. The first two teams, Ronaldo, Messi, they'll go for high, and then you got all the others just going for free.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I think, it won't be within the next year. I think it will be within the next 2, maybe 3 years if they were to release a set. But it's one of the things I think, to think this time next year we could have potentially no Messi or CR7 cards in sets. Obviously, compared to what we're used to, obviously will be a big shock to the system. And obviously we haven't had any with CR7 in these recent sets. Now we'll see in the Saudi League. But to take Messi out of the equation as well, obviously two goats of, our generation, obviously is like to the end of an era. So I think it depends, whether Barca will come into agreement with Messi, whether Messi wants to go to America. I know, like David Beckham did, was to go into the MLS first. I know obviously Zlatan did, but Drogba, yeah. But yeah, it's mad to think that potentially we could have no Messi or Ronaldo in sets next year. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But hopefully he can sort out some agreement with Barca and head back over there.
Yeah, and the last player I want to talk about is I personally think one of the players in the hobby that never really see his stuff, and that is Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Obviously retired yesterday at the age of 41. Unbelievable career. All over the world, quite literally. Obviously went out to Galaxy for a bit, absolutely destroyed it. Went back to AC Milan, really started the new renaissance at AC. Obviously then won the league with them. Obviously Barcelona's, Inter Milan's, AC Milan's, obviously all the way back in Malmo, Ajax as well. You don't see much of his stuff. Never signed with a company, never ever signed with Panini.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah.
So what a player. So a lot of the stuff that comes up is obviously, most of the time it's actually stickers more than anything. You see his Malmo come up occasionally, Ajax a lot of the time, some of his Sweden stuff. So over to you, H, so far. It's quite a weird one, Zlatan, because obviously he's been in more recent stuff. He's been in the odd international set, not that much though. And like the latest Chronicles, obviously when he was at AC Milan. But for a player of his career, really hasn't actually had that much stuff.
I mean, yeah. Can you really say that you're surprised that Zlatan hasn't signed for Topps or Panini? I mean, the geezer's stubborn as anything.
I think the only way of doing it is if it's a Zlatan set.
Yeah, if Zlatan releases his own set, he'd sign it.
By Topps.
Yeah, and it's just all cards of him.
Yeah,
just him posing.
Looking in the mirror.
It's not like the Jack Grealish set where you got a lot of City players and that. It would just be him.
It'd just be him.
But I think that works on the flip side where the cards that he does have are priced accordingly. Where for a player with such a decorated career that doesn't have that many cards out, then the cards he does have, the lower number cards he does have, the prices will rise significantly now. One, he's retired because there is no future sets that he could possibly be in unless they release some sort of legend set or he does decide to sign in the future. So it does then make them cards a lot more niche in terms of the pricing. But yeah, it's mad when you look back to think, a player of his caliber never had really that many cards. And a lot of his stickers, particularly from the 2006 World Cup, I think he's on one with Beckham, I want to say, is it?
Beckham,
Triple, yeah, that's it, yeah. But that sticker there is iconic. And it's just one of the things where it's not really something you think about, but when you do think about it, you actually realize how little stuff he does have in the hobby. Like I said, predominantly it is mostly stickers. So yeah, it's a strange one. But like I said, a player, I mean, I always think back to that overhead kick he scored against Joe Hart, obviously for Sweden. It was just a mad goal. So yeah, it's funny to think how little stuff he does have in the hobby. But as I said, that stuff then corresponds to the price that he's at.
Yeah, and obviously, just closing touch on you, Jess. Obviously, Zlatan, like I say, he's not got that much stuff. And do you think that obviously there's always this period of at least a week after someone retires, especially a legend of the game, that their items go up in price?
Oh yeah.
But do you just feel like even on a general day, going through Instagram, you'd never actually see much Zlatan stuff actually pop up?
I'm being honest. I think, say, in about 3 months, I've only seen one, and I can't remember what his Instagram was, but I think you guys will know if I told you after the recording. But he had like a Zlatan Topps Chrome, I think, out of 5, and it was red on red. Oh, it's beautiful. I think he had like a PSA 10 on it. That's the only one I've actually seen. I've seen a lot of stickers, but obviously, I think there's a lot of counterfeits. That are Beckett grade. I'm not too sure. I'm not really in with that, but yeah, you don't really see too much of him. Surprisingly, obviously what he's done in his career. I think as well. I think talking about this, obviously players retiring, it makes me want to go on eBay and see what cards there actually are on eBay of Zlatan. And stupidly of me, I probably will buy it just because I want a Zlatan card. I think yeah, when a player does retire, you do think, what cars does he have? And then obviously player prices go up because people want to buy what they have because there's not going to be any more of it. It's like Ramos, obviously, that's another one. He's obviously left PSG. It's my PC. Will he go to, Saudi Arabia? Will he stay in Europe? I don't think he will retire. I think he'll go Saudi Arabia. And obviously that means there won't be any cards of him. So, yeah. So obviously that might be good for me.
Yeah, not talk about any direct players, but we're seeing now a trend of, especially Topps have done it recently, where there's throwback cards in it. Like there's in Topps Crystal, for example, there's Ronaldo cards in a Real Madrid shirt, and you've got Messi in Barcelona shirts in Select. You've had so. H, do you think now it's going to be a bit more of a like we see it quite a few years ago, like 2019 Prism area, they had flashbacks like Bergkamp. Do you think we're going to come back to now where they're going to have a lot more inserts of yesteryear, so to speak, so they can still have these big names in the product?
Yeah, because I think it brings that sort of like, what's the word? It keeps people coming back, essentially. If you know you're going to have like a flashback of CR7 Messi in a product, or we see it with R9 with his autos, and you see it where you've got that eye appeal, because if you've got those legends in these sets that you can't get anymore, and they have the ability to bring back a flashback or a legends type set. I think you saw it a lot in Topps Deco. A lot of legend autos. We had Bergkamp. I know we had R9. There's a lot of the legend autos. So it's still a thing. There's still a lot of past, present, etc. autos in that set. So I don't think it would be the last time we ever see Messi or Ronaldo in a set. But I think if they have the ability to bring them in and have them as inserts or have them as base cards, it will definitely bring back that factor of people still trying to go hunting for Messi and Ronaldo. But I just don't think he will have the same effect. There's enough Messi and Ronaldo cards out there as it is at the moment to fish, and I just think it's going to be because they're trying too hard to keep them in the sets for as long as possible. But it just depends what they can pull out of the bag. I know the flashback autos particularly have been very popular. I know we see a couple of Wojciech Szczesny for Arsenal. You never see that card anywhere, so it could be one of like that where they're very hard to find. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see what happens and where they will end up.
Yeah, no, and obviously just to review Jace as well. Just like piggybacking on that one about like potentially having like your Messi throwback base cards, so to speak, rather than autos. Would you like to see more like created sets? Obviously, it's very hard to get the rights of it. There's been created sets for Messi, Ronaldo in the past, but they were kind of like the ones retailing at £25 to £30. Would you like to see one of these more created sets, like the platinums, like they've done for Bellingham, Mourinho, of a Messi, for example, or do you think it's just be a bit overkill, like at the end of his so-called tenure at a club?
I just think it's going to be overkill. Obviously, milking, just trying to get out as many cards as before he retires. Because obviously, with Ronaldo and Messi, they're going to retire. They're going to leave the hobby, obviously, and football one day. So you just got to accept it. I think if they're going to be the same quality as that Mourinho set, I think they will have the box in stock for years because it's one of the worst sets I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I remember the created set, obviously the £25 one with Messi. I think that's when I think COVID hit or something, and then obviously there was a lot of people in the hobby, so a lot of people bought that. But I think if that came out now, I think no one would. It will sell out, obviously, because it's 25 quid. It's a cheap little rip, but I just don't think there's any need for it. Appreciate the cards that we've got already of Messi and Ronaldo. There's some beautiful cards out there, so the only way they will do it is obviously to make more money, which obviously Tops and Panini, that's what they only see. They only see figures essentially, which is understandable. So I don't think they should, but if they want to, and it's a nice looking card, I might buy it, but no guarantee.
Yeah, that's what I say. I think that, like I say, we'll kind of keep this running over the summer period of every week. We'll see a few players that moved and see what it does for price, especially next week. We'll look at some of the younger players who might be on the move, like Bellingham, Ugarte, for example, potentially Declan Rice would be quite intriguing. But obviously, moving on now, and it feels like every single episode me and you have done H recently, we've talked about some sort of top set that has been released. And today, obviously, on the Topps Instagram page and Twitter, for anyone who didn't see it, they've actually released it. They're bringing out another set. Yep, another set.
Another one.
So, yeah, it feels like that at the moment. I think every single week. And this one is a curated set, and it's called UEFA Club Competitions Impact. What that means, no idea, but it's more. But there's Jason's opinion, even though he's going to be buying all of the cards up in about 3 weeks' time.
Exactly.
It's a very different looking design for people who haven't seen it. It's a much more, I don't even know how to explain it because it's a lot going on in each card. You've got like players emerging through a burning fire on a wall. Jason's showing the picture off now. It looks like Kudos on the right there, running through a brick wall. And then you've got Odegaard running through a brick wall because he's impacting it. But obviously, over to you, Jace, first. It's just another set at the end of the day. And how many sets can Topps bring out and it's actually everyone sells out?
Shows you everything. I think the only reason why you boys like it is because it's Odegaard at the front with an auto. That's why you guys like it. It's understandable.
I don't like the set. I just like the Odegaard auto.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, I'm just looking at it now. I think I just saw now, obviously, they're doing the, Champions League, Europa League, and the conference. So, obviously, following with the other sets that have done that. I think it was the new Merlin did that. And I don't know if the new Topps Chrome's doing it. I know they don't with the paper. I don't know if they're going to do it with the.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the same kind.
Oh, so that's a common theme. Just looking at it, I'm all right. If there's Ramos in it, I'll buy it, but I don't think he's in. So
it's just funny. I was just looking at the first comment on the Twitter feed, and it's Dear Topps, with the greatest of respects, less is more. I've got enough Lautaro Martinez, Ferran Torres autos for a lifetime. Very best. H, I think that's very well put, actually.
Thank you, mate. Good try.
But no, I think, like we say, it's Topps need to turn it down a bit with these sets. You could see the hype of Inception last week went down very well, even though raffle systems and all that. But a top quality set, people are happy for. These created sets, they're going to be broken all over the place. Probably going to be a fair price. They're probably going to be around the £35 mark. So if you want a cheaper break, it could be fair. Probably going to be your 2 numbered with every 5 boxes with an auto. So it's not going to be a big miss. But before we go into pickups later on, I've got to say one thing with Topps, because I actually received a golden envelope for the first time ever, which I was absolutely pleased of. And I did look at it thinking, what have I ordered from Topps? I really couldn't work out. But Project 22 Parallels have arrived with certain cards. Ordered this all the way back in February, so a good 4 months. Did hit Gabriel Jesus to 10 artist proof, which I show on here. Lovely card, number 10, 1 of 10 with the auto of 17th and oak on the back. And obviously, they still love them beautiful mags, which are 130 points rather than 100 points. And I've still got the mag next to me because I want to smash this thing up. And because it was oversized, it was rattling around and it's massively dinging the corner. So it is a non-gradable card. Don't get me wrong, beautiful card. But why do Tops love sending stuff out not protected properly? Do you think that's a problem with the people who work there, that they're just not maybe up in tune with the hobby? Or is it just an overall Tops problem? Because our good friend L_Trade Soccer hit a purple Rodrigo parallel to 99, then it comes sleeved and not in a top loader.
It's becoming too much of a recurring thing for it to be like a Tops problem where they're not clued up enough. Like it's happening in most parallel orders that there's damage to the car, they're not being sent packaged properly. There's issues with damage and stuff. So I'm believing it's either starts being incompetent to Tops, or that they just generally have no idea what a top loader is or how to package a car properly. You know, if you're hitting, let's say, the 1 of 1, the to 5, the to 10, a lower numbered hit, and it's being sent in either with them massive thick plastic cases, or just in a top loader and some bubble wrap. Like all they've got to do, the post, you've got to squish that through your letterbox and that's bent enough.
Yeah.
Or the corner's dinged. So I don't think it's just been a coincidence anymore. I think it's generally Tops just either have no idea how to package a card up properly, or they're trying to save on top loaders. But this is just wanting to see when people hit such a good card and it's coming damaged from a supplier directly.
Well, imagine it's 1-on-1.
Yeah, but it's a very fair point. And for example, these mags, they've ordered in tens of thousands, if not 100,000 mags at 130 point. All they needed to do was order it at 100 point and it would have been fine. They would have been the perfect size bags and everyone would keep them in the mags as well with the top sticker. And obviously, because they're the wrong size, everyone has to take them out, find top loaders.
I've left mine in.
Oh, see, I haven't. I had to take mine out because I might get them graded and I was like, oh, I can't do more ding corners. Can't deal with it. But obviously, that's my little rant over about Tops. But even though thank you very much, Tops, for the parallel, that was very kind of you. But next time, I'd like it in gradable condition rather than a massive chunk being taken out. And obviously, we will actually talk about some pickups quickly. This is only, yet again, we said this last time Jason was on. The only reason why he's ever invited on because he has about 400 pickups a week. So, but starting with H, because I'm actually going to be needed here because I've got his pickup. So, how about some pickups, H?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that we spoke about last week has also now been delivered to the US mailbox. So I'm just waiting for that to be delivered over. I did get the deal sorted out for the Shaka Zebra 25 on Instagram. And I also got some pickups, which Ronnie will now gladly show on the screen. So I actually got the Marquinhos camo from Select, which I'm hoping, obviously, to try and collect as many of the camos from Arsenal Select as I can. I'm sure if some of you remember from the London Card Show pickups, I actually picked up the Emil Smith Rowe Obsidian Red Etch to 26, I want to say 26. It is, PSA 8. And obviously the base to 105 from Lou. And I've now got the blue to, what is it, Ron?
20.
To 20 from Ronnie, and obviously the Obsidian patch as well. So those are my 3 pickups from within the last week.
And you're going to see a common theme with my ones. Exactly the same card, but just different parallels. So 2 Mr. Granite Jackards, obviously from Select, 1 orange and 1 pink, 1 to 75, 1 to 99, even though one of them does have a lovely scratch on it, so it's not gradable. But over to you, Jason. Obviously, I know you like picking up a card here and there. Before we talk about your misery on eBay and getting outbid on everything.
Oh, don't.
Have you actually picked up anything?
I've picked up too much. So basically, I'm on my phone just looking at pictures of what I've actually got, and there's a fair few. So I'll just show you. I've got a Ramos Optic Velocity, trying to do a little rainbow there. So that's out of 49. I've sent a few cards to PSA. I will do a video on it on ElToroCards. Shout out.
Get a plug in.
Exactly. It has been put on my story, so there's no like, oh my god, you got that. Okay, so I've got a PSA 10 Jude Bellingham out of 99. I'm very happy with that.
I haven't seen that before, Jace.
Have you not? No, I haven't shown it to anyone yet. And then got a Pedri PSA 9. I got a treble Messi, not the actual treble Messi. It was an insert Stallions out of 49. Got that very cheap. I got a few Ramoses. I got two very, very, very nice Hentos, which I'm still happy about. We got the La Furia, which is very rare. I haven't seen this before. I've only seen it once in 3 years, so I'm very happy about that. And then we've got the La Gonial. And then yeah, eBay. I don't really want to talk about at the moment. It's giving me a rough time with bidding and getting outbidded from everywhere, left, right, and centre. Left, right, and
So
centre.
we won't talk about eBay, but how is it going? Some of the I just it's more out of curiosity because one of the cards in particular bid. I won't say the amount that's been bidded or you've bid,
Oh, I don't mind
but
because I'm not getting it.
all right then. So say for example, you was looking at a Sergio Ramos treble.
Yes.
Obviously, you
So
did pick up one originally at the London Card Show from Sickball FC, which was the gold, I believe.
this one,
There we go.
yeah. So I've got these three. The only ones I need is base, which I know Sick Ball has, which I'll be talking to him about. That's an easy pick up there. I need the out of 10 and the one of one. One of one, I just think it's impossible. I know who has it, which is obviously Sick Ball. And then the out of 10 was on eBay in America. Someone did send it to me. So I was like, okay, we'll get it. Had 8 days left, and now it has, I think, 20 hours or 14 hours, and it's on $355. Yeah, no, I can't. My max was 300, and then my max was 350, and then it went up again. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So I've got to just gamble and try to find one another day. There's a Ramos Spectrum, whatever, out of 15. Got outbidded on that. There's one I'm winning, but I'm not gonna wait. When's this going out? Tonight. Tomorrow. Yeah, I got Ramos Select out of 5 die cut, which I'm winning. So hopefully I win that. So, yeah.
Like I say, eBay is a very weird place at the moment.
I don't like it.
That's our last talking point for tonight. It's obviously eBay. We'll talk in a coming episode. We're going to talk a lot about Whatnot and other platforms about how they're going. But over to you, HF5 eBay. It seems to be very hit and miss. Like a lot is selling. Like personally, I listed up a Florian Balogun yesterday at about 6 o'clock, and it sold by 7 o'clock. It seems, especially stateside, even actually UK. Is there something wrong with the auction system on eBay at the moment? Because for me personally, it just seems that a lot of it's going for absolutely dirt cheap. But I wake up in the morning with the notification you won it, expecting it to say like 30, and it come up and it says 7 or something. So I don't know if you've had this with some of your latest pickups, but the eBay auction system seems to be a bit weird at the moment.
Yeah, the auction system is going very, very cheap at the moment. I think that's why we've seen a lot of maybe like cancelled orders or cancelled sales where they haven't hit a certain number of people. Like, oh, I don't want to sell it for that little. It's the risk you take when you put up an auction on eBay, though. Because like I said, it can go for $1, it can go for $100, it can go for $50. It is the gamble you take when you list it up for an auction without a reserve. So if you want to see a $20 card go for $8, that's on your head if you don't want to put a reserve on it. It's good for buyers, obviously. Like, if you're a buyer of a card and you're getting a card for 20% of comps, you're laughing. But as a seller, you're setting it with that risk that it may not hit a reserve, it may not go for comps, you may go really under the radar in terms of auctions. I don't know why that is, but we are seeing a real common theme at the moment in terms of the auctions going for dirt cheap. And people are picking up some absolute bargains, but as a result, sellers are missing out quite heavily on sales. But like I said, from a buyer's perspective, your quid's in. From a seller's perspective, obviously you are biting your nails when you got an hour left and it's at like $4. But yeah, it's just weird. It's very weird at the moment. Like I said, I've been quite successful in eBay recently. But for sellers, it must be a bit of a go back to the bin and just wait for someone to put an offer in.
Because obviously you've had mixed experience so far. You've got some stuff on really good prices, but then also some of the stuff you're bidding on, some like the Ramos and higher end stuff, it's going for a lot of money. So do you think it's like the lower end stuff is actually just not doing well at the moment on the auction system? Whereas, like Harry said, a lot of people might just go back to the buy now, make an offer way of doing it.
I think obviously if you're listing on eBay, obviously you want the title to be right. You want obviously the right year it's on and all that. I think that obviously plays a part because I've seen some of these cards that I've got, like the listings are just totally incorrect, or they're just, they're not really helping themselves. I think with auctioning, I'll never auction a card off because anything's possible. if your card, if you put it as a buy now and it stays there for a year, so be it. You know, one day someone could just snatch it up. But yeah, I've been getting quite a few deals off at auctions. It's just obviously depends on of the day it ends, obviously what time. If it ends at night time, like 3 in the morning, I'll probably be up watching cards end. But yeah, no, I think recently I can tell a little difference. I think if I'm obviously going to be buying more no matter what, but I wouldn't sell as much now. I think market is down at the moment, so I'm just a buyer, not a seller, seller.
I think it's very fair. I think, like I said, there's deals to be had in the current market in general. I think on soccer cards especially, there's deals to be had. So, and I'm seeing it a lot where, say, an item is listed up, say 60. I know rather than make an offer straight away, I'll message the seller and just be like, that really nice card. Like, how would you make? Half the time I've seen people even offer it for like 50 to 70% of comps, which is fantastic, obviously, for the collector. Especially even if you're flipping it, it's still very good. But like I say, it's going to be very intriguing now. Obviously, we're about 2 months off from the London Card Show, which will be, no doubt, I think, the three of us next card show.
I need to buy the tickets.
Be very interesting to see the prices at that one, but we might as well confirm because I am officially attending this Saturday. So, Jason, you heading down for the next London Card Show?
I believe I am, unless something pops up, which I don't think it will, because I'll just
that means
go.
He's at both days then.
No, I'm being honest. I think I'm only going to do one day just because I've got a holiday coming up near that stage. So I don't want to spend a lot of money on that. I want to focus on the holiday, but I think I'm going for one day at least. It'll be very, very interesting. Obviously, you'll talk about it on the London Card Show, especially when it comes out, how it's going to be. Obviously, being 50-50 Pokemon and then sports, or how is it going to work out? So it'll be interesting. But I think I'm only going for one day. And yeah, I think I'll be doing a YouTube vlog as well, trying to show what LCS looks like on a good day.
And obviously, H, I'm expecting you to be back down for potentially the weekend again.
Yes, mate. Whole weekend. I'll be there probably on the Friday, and said I'll be leave on the Sunday night. So yeah, I'll be there the whole weekend again, dedicated to the cause.
Like I say, it's going to be very intriguing. Obviously, build up that. I know there's a lot of other shows. Northwest shows just been. I think there's a Cardiff show coming up. You've got the the Edinburgh Card Show as well coming up. And then obviously just after London, you've got South Coast. Obviously the Nationals as well, anyone heading out to that. But like I say, it's been another fantastic episode. Hopefully there'll be some new releases to actually review soon, but they've all been delayed quite a bit. But any closing messages from you, H? Anything you want to talk about in the hobby?
No, I think we're pretty much all set, to be fair, mate. I think I'm all good.
And obviously over to you, Jace. How's the before obviously but obviously you've briefly mentioned obviously you're doing the YouTube as well. Obviously there's a new release coming up this week where you actually look at the Women's World Cup stickers which come out. Obviously without telling us anyone, you got how was that set looking?
Looked all right, to be fair. Obviously, you can get them from the shops, I believe 90p. Yeah, the only problem is I don't really know much about women's football, probably like exactly. So Ronnie's your person if you want to ask. But yeah, ripped a few packs of that, just see how it is. Quality feels right. And the design's actually quite decent. But that's a new video popping up. I do need to upload more. My schedule's been quite busy, so going to be doing that and just thinking of ideas. And yeah, we'll be getting the videos out and pumping them out and boshing them out. Ebash!
Like we say, if you haven't already, do go and subscribe on ElToroCards on the YouTube and obviously on Instagram as well. And no doubt, Jace, that we'll be catching you on an episode very soon. But until next time, we wish you all the best with your Instagram, YouTube, and all your auctions that you're losing.
Well, I was going to say just before, there will be a giveaway on ElToroCards as well. So
there we go.
So if you guys want to enter, that will be coming soon. I don't know when. So yeah, just make sure you check that out.
Don't know when. Is there a sneak peek of what's going to be won on the giveaway?
Well, there might be. I might do one winner, or I might do 1, 2, 3. So obviously, gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal. I actually need to think it out. I've got a sort of idea how I'm going to do it. Just planning it and doing it.
Fantastic. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. We'll no doubt share that as well when it comes out for people to follow. But then it's been another great episode yet again. Thank you everyone for listening to episode 66 of the Top Loaded Podcast. We're closing in on the 70 mark, which is still a bit crazy to me. But hopefully, like I said, there'll be some more reviews, other bits, and there's some guests lined up as well in the wings. But until next time, I hope everyone out there is buying, selling, trading, and all that good jazz. But most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.